You know what that leather reminds me of? That time we went to Brighton and we went to the Mistress Dungeon. Do you remember? Cool, that was an eye-opener, wasn't it? Cool, I didn't walk right for a week. Where to your mother? My name's Steve, this channel is FRAG30 and thanks for tuning in. As always, I love you for doing so. So today's video is one of those times where I was just basically doing this out of my own curiosity, and then I thought, well, why don't I just stick on the camera and film kind of my findings, and then who knows, somebody out there might find some use out of it as well. So today I am good doing a comparison between Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather from the Private Blend and Tom Ford's Ombre Leather as well. Now, I'm a lot more familiar with the Ombre Leather because I've worn it, I've tried it in store. It gave my friend, one of my girly friends, some fanny flutters. So after seeing the kind of reaction and seeing her get weak at the knees, I naturally went out and kind of, well, I wanted to buy it, and then I thought, do I want to spend that much money? Because she's definitely not going to sleep with me. So then I thought, actually, why don't I look at some clones? So at the time I then started I got a sample of the real thing and I've worn that, and I've got a clone of it called Leather Essenza from pocketsense.co.uk. So basically I'm quite familiar with Ombre Leather is what I'm trying to get at. Now, until filming this video and kind of doing this kind of little trial and testy, I've never actually smelt a Tuscan Leather. As I say, I'm certainly a lot more familiar with Ombre Leather. I really enjoy it actually. And wearing it, I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed it. It took me a while to kind of warm up to this fragrance, if I'm honest, because I've always found that it's just kind of so leather. I don't really get too much else. So it took me a while to kind of appreciate it because it was kind of like just a leather overload. But as I say, once I started wearing it a bit more, I'm kind of a bit more familiar with it, and I kind of warmed to it and started really appreciating it. So what you kind of get with Ombre Leather, most of you know, is the image I get is just the leather from a brand new sports car. That's kind of what I get. I just imagine like leather seats in a really kind of swanky sports car. Now, my friend, my girly friend who had a wide on for this fragrance, she, interestingly enough, she got like a horse's saddle. That's kind of shows how middle class she is. So that's what kind of imagery she got, and I got a kind of leather seats from a brand new sports car. And it's very quite easy wearing, relatively speaking, the fact that if you can get over the intense leatherness of it. And it's quite smooth, and it's very kind of mass appealing, I'd say, and it's quite a nice sort of sweet kind of leather. It's presented in a really nice smooth package. That's what you get with Ombre Leather. So the imagery I get from Ombre Leather is brand new leather interior from a sports car. The imagery I got when I first sprayed Tuscan Leather is a dusty library with kind of leather chairs and maybe some leather bound books, and that's what I got from it, which kind of threw me a little bit. So once I kind of got over that initial imagery of a dusty library, I was kind of surprised that these fragrances are definitely similar, but they are also definitely different. I don't know what I was expecting actually. I think I was probably expecting the Tuscan Leather to be a bit more kind of in your face, a bit almost harder to wear and a bit more complex, and in many ways it is. That's how I get kind of like a dusty kind of leather from it. And there are some note differences in this. One of the main ones, main noticeable differences in the Tuscan Leather, there's raspberry, which there isn't apparently in the Ombre Leather. It's not an officially listed note. And in the Tuscan Leather, there's also olibanum or frankincense as well. So, I mean, there's a few other differences. I'm not going to kind of do a full breakdown. But that's kind of some of the main note breakdowns. So what I get from Tuscan Leather is this kind of dusty kind of leather, and it's almost a bit kind of green. There's almost a bit of a greenness to it. And I think it's coming from the frankincense, because frankincense or the olibanum often gets described by people as having a sort of coniferous, piney undertone. I do get the raspberry as well. So what I will say though, what's kind of surprised me with the Tuscan Leather is, I'm not saying it's not well blended, because it is. I think there's so much going on, but I can pick out the different facets of the fragrance a little bit more. I kind of get the leather, I get the kind of that dusty frankincense-ness, and it almost feels quite separate stages that I can kind of pick up and process. and then I get this raspberry. So it feels quite sort of disparate in that regard, that I've got this kind of dusty leather and raspberry. It's a bit weird, where the Ombre Leather I find is presented as a package. It's probably, they've done that to make it like a lot more accessible and easier to wear and kind of mass appealing, and it's kind of presented, I'm not saying it's less complex, but it's almost more of a rounded package, and to me it's smoother and it's kind of in many ways richer leather, and it's sweeter, and I think that sweetness comes from, so as I say, there's no raspberry in it, but I think the sweetness comes from some of the jasmine that's in there, and I think they've amped up the amber as well, so I think that's one of the things that's actually kind of added to the sweetness. What I would say, I prefer Ombre Leather. There's no doubt about that in my mind. That's the one I definitely enjoyed more, and that's the one I gravitate to. And to me, it is the younger, sexier fragrance. Now, I'm not saying that I'm younger and sexier, but that's the one that I enjoy the most, and I think is a younger, kind of sexier fragrance. Where I think Tuscan Leather, certainly, you know, it's not a bad fragrance. It's a good, you know, very good fragrance. But I would say it's, if I had to, I'd say that was a kind of more mature and kind of a bit more sophisticated. I imagine that Ombre Leather is kind of going out to the club, to the bar, you know, sort of younger guy, and I imagine the Tuscan Leather is a bit more of a gent that's kind of, you know, going out maybe to maybe a wine bar or maybe some sort of formal event. That's kind of in my mind how I picture the two. Performance wise, there's nothing in it, to be honest. They both perform really well on my skin. So there you go, that's the difference I find between Tuscan Leather and Ombre Leather. Let me know below what differences you find, and also how do they get different reactions from people in your life, because I'd be curious to know. There's a lot of talk saying that Tuscan Leather is a bit too much for some people, and typically wives, girlfriends and significant others prefer the Ombre Leather because it's kind of a bit more kind of easier to digest and a bit more mass appealing and kind of a bit more enjoyable from the other half's point of view. So let me know if you find that. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this may help you, it may not, I don't know, but that's just kind of, you know, this is just what I do. As I say, this is one of those videos that I did for myself, and I just thought I'll stick on the camera and share it with you anyway. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And if you did get something from it, or you know, you do appreciate the fact that I've put some effort into turning the camera on, then hit the like button. Again, I would really kind of appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you for the next one. Much love.